All right, so today let's talk about some games that deserve way more love. These aren't your typical AAA blockbusters that everyone and their grandma has played. These are hidden gems, underappreciated titles, and some truly awesome games that flew under the radar. Here are 17 awesome games you never played, but you should. South of Midnight is one of those games that instantly grabs your attention because it feels so different from the usual open-world formula. It's set in a world dripping with Southern Gothic atmosphere, filled with folklore-inspired creatures and a tone that's equal parts eerie and enchanting. What makes it stand out is its unique art direction. It looks like a living painting, but with this haunting vibe that makes you want to keep exploring. It's not trying to copy the same tired formulas. Instead, it's carving out its own identity, which is rare these days. Honestly, it feels like the kind of game that will either completely blow up or quietly sit there as a hidden gem waiting for players who actually take the plunge. And trust me, this is one plunge you'll want to take.
Across the game.
It ain't every day I hear about a new weaver such as yourself. Would you kindly do your weavy thing and help me down?
Now, The Altars is a game that immediately stands out because of its concept alone. You're basically cloning alternate versions of yourself to survive and solve problems. That's right, you and your many selves trying to figure out who's actually useful and who's just dragging their feet. What I love here is how it blends survival mechanics with deep narrative choices. Each altar has its own personality and skill set, and that creates this crazy layer of strategy where you're managing not just resources, but actual people who are all technically you. It's smart, it's fresh, and it's one of those games that asks you to stop and think, which we all know can be a challenge if you're used to mashing buttons. But in all seriousness, The Altars is shaping up to be something truly unique in the gaming space. If you're into stylish action games that don't hold your hand, AI Limit should be right up your alley. It's got that slick, futuristic vibe with fast-paced combat that feels like it belongs somewhere between a Souls-like and a hack and slash. You've got flashy combos, a dark cyberpunk setting, and enemies that look like they crawled straight out of a sci-fi nightmare. What really makes AI Limit stand out is that it doesn't shy away from being challenging, but at the same time, it gives you enough tools to feel like an absolute badass once you get the hang of it. Think of it as the type of game that punishes sloppy play, but rewards skill and patience in the best way possible. If you've been craving something new in the action RPG scene, this one's definitely worth keeping on your radar. Hyper Light Breaker takes everything people loved about Hyper Light Drifter and then kicks it into overdrive by moving it into full 3D. This isn't just a pretty indie project. It's a full-on action roguelike with insane energy, gorgeous visuals, and the kind of creativity you expect from Heart Machine. The game is packed with combat that feels fluid, traversal that's fun on its own, and a world that's as colorful as it is dangerous. It's the kind of game where you know every run is going to feel a little different, and that randomness keeps it fresh. Plus, the art style here is just something else. It's vibrant, bold, and hard to forget once you've seen it. If you love games that mix style with substance, Hyper Light Breaker is definitely one you shouldn't sleep on. So Atlas Fallen is basically what happens when you take a giant sandbox, fill it with colossal monsters, and hand the player oversized weapons to go wild with. The game has this slick blend of fast-paced combat and open-world exploration, all wrapped in a world that looks like it was sculpted straight out of a fantasy epic. It's flashy, it's brutal, and it feels designed for players who want every fight to feel like an event. The sand surfing mechanics also give it a really unique feel, making traversal just as fun as the combat itself. While it might not have hit mainstream popularity, it's definitely one of those titles that stands out once you actually give it a chance. If you're into stylish action RPGs that put spectacle front and center, Atlas Fallen delivers exactly that and more. Banishers. Ghosts of New Eden is one of those games that blends action RPG mechanics with a genuinely emotional storyline, which is a rare combo these days. It's built by Don't Nod, the same studio behind Life is Strange, so you know it's going to bring heavy choices and gut-punching decisions, but this time it's layered over satisfying combat and a dark, supernatural world. You play as ghost hunters, but it's not just about slaying spirits. It's about what those spirits represent and the tough calls you'll need to make along the way. It's the type of game that makes you swing a sword one minute and question your own morals the next. And let's be honest, how many games can actually pull that off? If you like your actions spiced up with storytelling that hits hard, this one's a must-play. Now, if someone told you one of the most entertaining Souls-like games stars a crab, you'd probably laugh it off. But Another Crab's Treasure is exactly that. And it's way better than it has any right to be. Underneath the quirky humor and cartoony art style is a surprisingly deep and challenging combat system that gives even hardcore players a run for their money. The twist is that instead of medieval armor, you're scavenging bottle caps, tin cans, and random trash for protection, and somehow it just works. It's funny, it's weird, but it's also insanely clever in how it reinvents the formula. This is one of those games that proves you don't need to take yourself too seriously to deliver a truly satisfying experience. And honestly, if you've ever wanted to rage quit because of a crab, here's your chance. Children of the Sun is one of those games that instantly feels different, and not in a we're trying too hard to be edgy kind of way, but in a genuinely unique, atmospheric manner. It's indie at its core, which means it's not about endless explosions or bombastic cutscenes, but more about pulling you into its strange, unsettling world and keeping you hooked through tone and storytelling. It leans into mystery and survival, with a haunting presentation that sticks in your mind even when you're not playing. It's the type of game you recommend to a friend by saying, I can't really explain it, you just need to experience it. And those are usually the best kinds of games. If you're tired of the same old, Children of the Sun is a refreshing, if slightly eerie, breath of fresh air. Here's a hidden gem almost nobody talks about, Gylt. Originally a Stadia exclusive, yes, Stadia actually had a few good things. It sadly got overlooked, but it really shouldn't have. It's a mix of stealth, exploration, and light horror wrapped in a world that looks both unsettling and oddly beautiful. It's not a game that tries to terrify you with cheap jump scares. Instead, it builds atmosphere and tension that keeps you on edge the whole way through. The art direction has this Coraline meets Silent Hill vibe, which makes it memorable even if the gameplay itself leans a bit simple. Honestly, the fact most players skip this one is a shame, because it deserves way more recognition. If you're looking for something spooky but approachable, Gylt is absolutely worth dusting off. If you've ever thought, man, I just want a game that chills me out instead of frying my brain, then Jusant is the perfect pick. This is a climbing adventure game, but don't let that simple premise fool you. It's beautiful, meditative, and strangely addictive. The whole point is about scaling these massive rock faces, and while that might sound repetitive, it's presented with such charm and style that it never feels boring. It's one of those games that invites you to slow down, enjoy the view, and just get lost in the atmosphere. Honestly, in a gaming world where everything's about loot grinds and giant explosions, Jusant feels like the quiet kid in the corner who turns out to be cooler than everyone else. Sometimes the best way to escape reality is just to climb higher. Still Wakes the Deep is the kind of game that horror fans dream about. Slow-burning, tense, and atmospheric without relying on endless cheap jump scares. It's set in an isolated, claustrophobic environment that practically oozes dread, and the developers focus on immersing you in that world rather than throwing monsters at you every 2 minutes. The sound design, the visuals, the pacing, it all works together to make you feel like you're never really safe. It's one of those experiences where you're not just playing a game, you're living inside a nightmare, and that's exactly what makes it so effective. If you love horror that builds pressure until you're practically chewing your controller, Still Wakes the Deep is right up your alley. When it comes to puzzle adventures, Ever Forward is one of those titles that deserves way more recognition than it got. It's a beautifully surreal game that blends clever puzzle mechanics with dreamlike visuals and a subtle emotional undertone. What's great here is that it doesn't overwhelm you with endless tutorials or overcomplicated mechanics. It eases you in, but still keeps you thinking the whole way through. The pacing is relaxing, the visuals are soft and atmospheric, and it's the kind of game that sneaks up on you emotionally without trying too hard. It's perfect if you want something that stimulates your brain, but also gives you a calm, almost meditative gaming session. Honestly, it's a refreshing break from the chaos of bigger, louder titles. If you've played Grease, then you already know the studio behind Neva doesn't just make games, they make art you can play. Neva follows that same philosophy with breathtaking visuals, fluid animation, and a story that feels deeply personal even without spelling everything out. It's one of those games that's more about the journey and emotion than racking up points or loot. And that's what makes it special. Every frame looks like a piece of concept art, and the music just ties the whole experience together in a way that pulls at your emotions without a word being spoken. If you're someone who loves games that make you feel something beyond, "Yay, I leveled up," Neva is a must. It's short, it's sweet, and it's unforgettable. Sable is what happens when exploration takes center stage and everything else just steps aside. It's a game all about wandering a strange desert world, soaking in the atmosphere, and uncovering its secrets at your own pace. There's no combat, no forced objectives breathing down your neck. It's just you, your curiosity, and this beautifully hand-drawn landscape. The art style is like nothing else, almost like a graphic novel come to life, and it's honestly mesmerizing. What makes it so great is the sense of freedom. You're encouraged to take your time, explore, and just enjoy the experience without pressure. In a world full of games screaming at you to hurry up and grind, Sable is like a deep breath of calm desert air. Solar Ash is one of those games that feels like pure motion turned into art. It's fast, fluid, and stylish with traversal mechanics that make simply moving through the world a joy. Instead of slowing you down with heavy systems, it embraces speed and flow, letting you skate through surreal environments that feel like they belong in a dream. On top of that, it layers in some intense encounters with massive enemies, but it never loses that core focus on smooth, satisfying movement. The art direction is bold and colorful, giving it a vibe that stands out immediately from the usual dark and gritty games we see everywhere. If you love games that prioritize style and kinetic energy, Solar Ash should be right up there on your must-play list.
Close enough. Gotta find a way to that next weak point. Can grapple along.
Astral Chain is one of those Switch exclusives that too many people skipped over, and honestly, that's a crime against good gaming. It's made by Platinum Games, which already tells you the combat is going to be stylish, over-the-top, and ridiculously fun. But what makes this game stand out is its dual character mechanic. You control both your main character and this tethered creature called a Legion, which opens up insane possibilities for combos and strategy. It's got that mix of anime flair, fast-paced action, and unique mechanics that Platinum does best. Plus, the futuristic cyberpunk vibe is just plain cool. This is not your average action game. It's layered, it's flashy, and it's got depth for days. If you own a Switch and you skipped Astral Chain, do yourself a favor and fix that. Now, Wanted Dead is pure chaos in the best way possible. It's a hybrid slasher shooter where you're flipping between swords, guns, and wild finishers that make every fight look like an action movie gone off the rails. It's stylish, fast, and just a little rough around the edges, but that's honestly part of the charm. The game doesn't try to be polished perfection, it leans into being a wild ride, and that makes it feel fresh compared to overly safe AAA games. The combat is challenging but rewarding, and the overall vibe screams old-school arcade energy with a modern twist. If you're looking for something that doesn't take itself too seriously, but still delivers tons of action and personality, Wanted Dead is a gem hiding in plain sight.
Don't think.
And there you have it, 17 awesome games you probably never played but absolutely should. Which of these have you played, or which one are you adding to your list right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gaming videos just like this. See you in the next video.